Are you ready to get started? Okay. So recently my dog Bella passed away. She was about 15 and she got really sick. I didn't have Bella for very long. I got her when she was probably around 13 from someone on an app saying that they needed someone to temporarily watch their dog while they kind of resettled, and I never heard from them again. So she became my dog. Even though I didn't have her for very long, it was still a big loss. She was very sweet and just a precious dog. And to help me get out of the funk of that loss, I decided to, as silly as it is, rearrange my office. I just kind of thought it would help me get moving again and kind of inject some new energy into the house. I also kind of felt like I didn't really like how the furniture was, and so that's what I decided to do. So, switching over to the office, there are a few different areas. I have my sitting area with my chair. I've got my desk where I do like fun stuff and filming. I've got like this display shelf that has games and books, and I keep like some storage at the bottom. And then I have my locker. I call it my art locker, where I have all my books and craft papers. I forgot the doors weren't closed, so I closed those. And then I have this table where we typically do like our game nights and everything whenever I have family over. And then above the table is this hanging paper lantern. And at the back of the room is where the curio cabinet is. And the curio cabinet has a bunch of glass that came from my grandma. It was one of her hobbies to find antique glass and put it in a trunk and expose it to UV light, which made it turn purple. And over in this alcove is where I keep my work desk for my job. Like, I never sit here unless I'm working. I got this massive desk off of OfferUp, and it fits perfectly in this little area. Above the desk is where I have a bunch of art. The yellow pieces from Goodwill. The two ones on the side, I made those. And then above that, there was a Buble fixture that I didn't like, so I covered it with a tulip shade. And then over to the side, I have a little palm tree. So the one thing I knew I wanted to try when rearranging the furniture was to move the game table to the front of the room, maybe reposition my desk. And then I thought I would take the big shelf and put it on the back wall, take the art locker and then put it where the big shelf used to be. And then I wanted to move the curio cabinet so I would have room. So I thought I would put it at the front of the room under the window. So I poured myself a drink of water and then it was time to move all the furniture out of the way so I could get started. So once I moved the gaming table to the front, I had enough room to relocate my desk. So I turned my desk so that I would basically be facing the big window. And the idea was I would have this back corner that would be kind of like an all-encompassing office area where I could access my shelf and my art locker, and everything would just be at hand. But once I kind of sat down, I realized it was really dark back there and shadowy. So I took out my flow book to kind of test the lighting, and it was just too dark. I was really starting to question my plan. I decided to sit on that decision and just started working on cleaning off the shelves because I still needed to reposition all of the other furniture. Then I started cleaning out the curio cabinet. I took all of the glass and put it in my kitchen on the counter, so there was no chance I was going to knock any of it down. I started to make a little clearing where the cabinet was going to go. I took out the pictures and the plants, and then I had to move the curio cabinet, which always makes me feel like I'm endangered because it's so heavy and flimsy and has all this glass. But once I got it moved and under the window, I thought it looked so cute. It was like the perfect place for it. And then after that, I was able to turn my attention back to the corner, and it was time to move the locker. So I decided to try a snap transition. I think it turned out pretty good. I think next time maybe I should just turn off the background noise. So I had started this project around like 5 p.m. and by this time the sun was setting and the light was starting to change and it was starting to look really ugly in this room. So I really apologize for that. Once I had everything in place, I did not like it. I didn't like the desk being there. I didn't like the awkward corner that the two pieces of furniture made. I tried adding some lighting to kind of brighten it up and see how that made me feel about it, but I wasn't really into it. So as I foreshadowed earlier, it was pointless to take everything off of the teak shelf because I ended up just swapping them back, which was a lot of work and made the locker crooked, so I had to adjust the feet, which took a really long time, surprisingly. I'm not sure what I was pointing at, but basically once I moved the desk back, I didn't have anywhere else to put the chair, so I just put it right in the middle of the room. And from there, I just started working on little details. I hung some pictures next to the locker, put the plant back on the game table. With the game table all the way in the front of the room, it didn't make sense anymore to have the games on the shelf at the back of the room. So I decided to relocate them and put them on a bar cart. That way I could kind of easily access them and bring them out whenever it was game night. And once I had them on the cart, I just stored them next to my desk. And then on the other side of the desk is this old typewriter desk that I have. I got this off of OfferUp and I use it as kind of like an extension to my desk because I need so much room. So when I'm working, I basically roll it out, extend the leaves, and then I have all that extra space. And I'm supposed to push it back in and put it away when I'm done, but I always forget to do that. But back in the awkward corner, I decided to use this filing cabinet that I thrifted recently. It had been in my bathroom, but I was like, it doesn't make sense to have a filing cabinet in your bathroom, even if it is pretty. So I put it in the back corner, added a light, and hung a painting just to kind of add some interest back there. Then I was able to put the glass back into the curio cabinet once it was in place, but it was really unstable. Like some of the feet touch the ground and some don't. So I put some bits of paper under the legs that needed it, and then it was pretty secure. It wasn't rocking or anything, so that was ideal. Then I moved the palm tree to the back of the room. At this point, the paper lantern was still hanging over the chair, and I really liked it there, so I didn't want to move it. So I decided to get a different fixture for the game table. The next day, I went to World Market and I bought a lighting kit, and I bought a paper lantern, and I bought like this wicker one to see which one I liked. So to figure out where to place it, I hung this plumb line and figured out where the middle of the table would be. And then I kind of drove in the little hook. Then I hung the electrical cord, and whether I kind of went this way or that way, it seemed to be really tight and then like barely reaching the outlet. So I just kind of had to make that work. I ended up going with the kind of wicker looking lampshade. I just thought it was more interesting than having two paper lanterns, and I decided to use a kind of a smaller Edison bulb because I just liked how it looked and I wanted it to be smaller so it wasn't kind of like protruding too far down out of the shade. That night, I kind of started to feel like the cord looked a little busy, so I just moved it over a bit and had it run down behind my painting, which relocated the on and off switch under the painting, and that was way more of a convenient location. After that, it was just a little bit of detail work. I put the dog bed back in the front of the window where it used to be. That was where Bella used to sit and look out. Like every day, she would be there when I came home from work with her ears sticking through the window. I also ended up rearranging the shelf a bit since the games were gone. There was like this empty area, so I just kind of finessed that a bit. And I ended up getting this orange container from World Market. I thought it was pretty cute. It's like an Easter theme. I wasn't really feeling the plant that I had on the gaming table anymore. It was starting to wilt and just look really sad. So I went over to a local nursery. I believe it's called Whitfield Nursery, and just kind of perused their plants. They had a whole bunch of stuff to choose from, and they also had some macaws, which was really cool. So I got some footage of those. It was hard to decide on what plant to get. I really was having a hard time with that. But once I made my decision, I came back and I switched the plants out. And I think it looked really good. I think it really complemented the room. So switching gears a little bit, I had been wanting to cover up the window where I sit to film and like put a window cling on there or something to make it more interesting because the window is just so ugly. So I ordered one off of Amazon. It ended up being kind of a nightmare because they kept sending me the right sized box with the wrong item inside. So I had to kind of send it back a few times. And yeah, so I got it and I installed it. It was pretty easy, but I don't think I got all the air bubbles out. Like at night, you can kind of see them, but I think it works. The only thing is that I didn't do the top windows because I didn't order enough, but I think I might because it kind of diffuses the light and keeps out the heat. So I think that's on my to-do list. This is how it turned out. I think it looks really good. It doesn't look like stained glass, but I think it makes it look prettier. And like I said, it has a practical function. But let me know what you think. You can see I'm kind of finding air bubbles, but there's still more. And finally, at long last, the room was ready. And here is the big reveal.